All of you. Hi, since I'm one of your members, I used to be one of yours. I am here telling you that we are waiting for Carlos Jimenez, right? And Mary and I ourselves were back there, so I think it will be, who has the deadline? Channel the newscast at 6:30. Tell me who has the deadline so I can tell my two boys that you guys need to cut and be ready and not be rushing. Does anyone have a deadline? Oh my God, during my time, that was not the case. Good for you. So let me see. Apparently not. So I think it will be like 10 more minutes, all right? We'll be back.
Thank you.
All right. Of course. Hey, I used to be back.
Guys, we'll be starting in like 2 minutes. Thank you. Gracias. Empezaremos en 2 minutos.
I'll be here first, and then I'll be in the middle, and then you're.
So it'll be
That's right in the middle, and that's right.
and you wind us up.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys want to come up here? Whoever you guys want to come up here? The elected officials. All right.
That's right, the elected officials.
Yeah, she come up here. All right. Patricia, ¿cómo estás? Let me thank all of you, members of the press, for being here. My colleagues, obviously my congressional colleagues, and the other elected officials who have honored us with their presence here and their solidarity as always. I was going to mention the elected officials, but now there's a bunch of them, and so I think I do need to mention our host. the mayor of this great city, and then we've got constitutional officials. We've got officials from Broward and so many others. And so thank all of you for being here. January 3rd marks a historic day, clearly for the Venezuelan people and for our entire hemisphere, and also for the national security interests of the United States of America. We warned that what we were seeing in this hemisphere was not political theater. It wasn't a show. That this was real. That the President of the United States had been very clear about his policy. The day of accepting the death of American citizens, the poisoning of our youth, the destabilization of our hemisphere are over. And time again, and I thank all the members of the press, we kept saying it. And we got a lot of questions, and we kept saying, just watch, because it is a new world under the leadership of this president. I've also said on multiple occasions to many of the members of the press that I was convinced that to Maduro, there were three options that he had left, and that one of them was about to close out. I thought we had the option of leaving, and it's very clear that the President of the United States, through his Secretary of State, the brilliant Marco Rubio, offered Maduro many ways to find an exit path to get out of the country. So I kept saying that was one option that was going to close. The other two options I thought were either the Noriega option or the Soleimani option. Well, President Trump, when Maduro did not accept or did not believe what the president was saying, President Trump decided on that option, to use the brave men and women, those volunteers of the United States Armed Forces, to go get him in Caracas and bring him to justice. And let's remember who we're dealing with. We're dealing with a man who was under indictment in the Southern District of New York for drug trafficking and multiple other offenses, just like, by the way, Noriega had similar offenses. Well, we have been accepting and tolerating and seeing the death and the poisoning of countless young Americans. We've seen boats and airplanes come north from the south, and we were able to only intercept a very small percentage of those. And for so many years, the attitude of different administrations was like, so what? Those days are over. Yes. It is an important day for the American people. It is a crucial day for the entire hemisphere, and it is the one thing that all of us have all been saying. We've all been saying, and you've heard me say this time and time again, that the solution, the real solution for the Venezuelan people was total, absolute democracy and freedom returning to Venezuela, and because of President Trump and the United States Armed Forces, that day has already begun. I also I am going to make some references in Spanish, but I also remind all of our friends from the press, and a lot of us have known each other for many, many years. You've heard me say this time and time again. I said this in the 4 years that President Trump was out of the White House, and I said it after he came back, that I was convinced that the tyranny, this anti-American narco-terrorist regime in Venezuela, the tyranny in Cuba, and also the tyrannical dictatorship in Nicaragua, I've said it multiple times, I believed that they would have not survived another 4 years of Trump in the White House. I said that then. When President Trump comes back, I repeated that. I said, I'm convinced that these three tyrannies are not going to survive these 4 years of President Trump. And my friends, what we are seeing is that the first of those tyrannies has not survived President Trump. The next two, their days are also counted. Déjame muy brevemente en español. Si encuentro mis notas en español, porque aquí tengo un arroz con mango.
Si tú sabes hablar español, puedes
Sí.
decir las notas.
Pero como decía mi padre, analfabeto en 2 idiomas, así que tengo que tener cuidado. Primero a todos ustedes, miembros de la prensa, gracias por estar aquí, a nuestros colegas, a mis colegas del Congreso de los Estados Unidos, mi hermano y mi hermana, obviamente qué privilegio estar con ella, pero con todos estos oficiales electos de nuestra comunidad, que para nosotros son colegas, son amigos y que admiramos tanto. Gracias a cada uno de ustedes por estar aquí con nosotros hoy. Esto ha sido un día realmente histórico, un día que muchos habíamos estado esperando, trabajando para que llegara y ansiosos que por fin llegara. Esto marca una nueva época por décadas ya. En este hemisferio hemos visto estas dictaduras, y ahora estamos hablando específicamente de la de Venezuela, actuando con impunidad, envenenando a nuestra juventud, destabilizando a todas las democracias en el hemisferio, utilizando los fondos que ese cartel de los soles le ha estado robando a ese pueblo venezolano para hacer daño a los intereses de los Estados Unidos y a través de todo el mundo y todo el régimen. Y año tras año había como una aceptación de distintos presidentes en los Estados Unidos. La frustración mía siempre ha sido de que nosotros podíamos ver en mi posición la cantidad de barcos de droga y aviones y avionetas viniendo del sur y solamente hemos podido interceptar un porcentaje muy pequeño hasta que todo cambió. El presidente Trump, esto es una política muy bien establecida, muy bien pensada. Primero, declaró a estos grupos narcoterroristas como grupos terroristas. Segundo, dijo que estos grupos terroristas han estado en guerra con los Estados Unidos y ahora los Estados Unidos va a demostrar que eso no es permisible, que está en guerra con ellos. Después comenzó a actuar y después trajo una fuerza militar realmente impresionante a esta área y le advirtió directamente y públicamente al tirano Maduro que se fuera, que sus días estaban contados. Obviamente Maduro no quiso escuchar. Parece que pensaba que todavía está Biden en la Casa Blanca. Todavía pensaba que la izquierda iba a poder proteger a este narcoterrorista que tomó control de este gran país. Pero es que ha cambiado el mundo. También yo he dicho en múltiples ocasiones que la solución para todos los problemas de los venezolanos en el exilio, de los venezolanos en Venezuela, de los venezolanos regados a través del mundo, que la solución real es una, y siempre ha sido una, la libertad y la democracia en Venezuela. Y por el presidente Trump y los héroes de las Fuerzas Armadas de los Estados Unidos, con también nuestro brillante Marco Rubio, el secretario de Estado y el secretario de Guerra. Ese día ya ha llegado. Así que de nuevo, repito lo que también he dicho en múltiples ocasiones, que yo estaba convencido que estas 3 tiranías no hubiesen sobrevivido otros 4 años de una presidencia de Trump. Eso lo reiteré después de estas últimas elecciones. Yo estaba convencido que eso iba a ocurrir. Hemos visto ahora por qué yo lo he estado diciendo y mis colegas sabíamos que esto era la realidad. Porque este es un presidente que ha puesto en la mesa una política positiva para los Estados Unidos y para este hemisferio y ha actuado de una forma realmente impresionante y muy positiva. Así que vamos a tomar preguntas, pero mucho antes que eso tengo que reconocer a mis 2 colegas del Congreso de los Estados Unidos. I don't need to introduce my next colleague. She is a leader in the Foreign Affairs Committee. She's a person who knows the hemisphere and knows this community and who is immensely respected by her colleagues of Democrat or Republican in Congress, and that is Congresswoman Salazar. From what number district?
27.
27th district,
Yes.
right next door.
Yes.
Congresswoman, please.
Thank
you
you
have the floor.
very much. Thank you. Thank you. And delighted to be here in your home. Delighted to be in front of all of you, my colleagues in the news media and the elected officials, and my brothers in arms in Congress. Today is definitely a glorious day, not only for the Venezuelans, but for the Cubans and for the whole hemisphere. And we feel it probably more than anybody else because we know how hard it's been. But we have a fantastic leader called President Trump. And thank God that because of him, justice caught up with Maduro. And a new chapter has begun. Oh, yes. For the Venezuelan people, a new chapter has begun for the hemisphere, as a new chapter for the whole hemisphere. And I was saying to my two colleagues that Maduro is a very blessed and lucky guy, that he did not fall in the hands of the Cubans who were supposed to be protecting him, because he would be dead right now. He fell in the hands of the Americans. He's going to be able to have a good life in jail for the next 40 years for what he did, but he is alive and he is in the hands of our troops. So he is a blessed guy. In our 240 years history, it proves that we are not an occupying power, like some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle are saying. We're not an occupying power. We are a liberating power, and we restore power, and then we give it back to those who are in that country. We are a very benevolent country. And today, as Mario was saying, January the 3rd joins history's calendar, because a day like today, in 1990 in Panama, Manuel Antonio Noriega was removed and a legitimate president was restored shortly thereafter. We let free people govern themselves. We're not in the business of creating colonies, and that's exactly what's going to happen in Venezuela for anyone who is afraid of the future. In 1983, Ronald Reagan removed a Marxist regime in Grenada, the island of Grenada, and that island has been prosperous and free ever since. We know that the same history is going to happen in Venezuela. The president said it this morning very clearly. He wants Venezuela to be free, prosperous, and secure. They have the largest reserves of oil in the world, so they're going to be able to pay for their own reconstruction. They're not going to be asking or begging any other country, including ours, to lend them money. They have enough resources to do that. So that also means that no more Russia, no more China, no more Hezbollah, no more Iran, no more Hamas on Venezuelan soil trying to harm our children or launch a terrorist attack against our country. In July of 24, Venezuela had elections and Edmundo Gonzalez won, and as the vice president was Maria Corina Machado. We are going to allow for the Venezuelans to decide once again who do they want to be governed by. We're not going to be choosing Venezuela's next president. We don't do that. We're not in the business of installing regimes. We're in the business of helping the country make their own decisions. I, just like Mario and Carlos, we represent the largest Venezuelan diaspora in the United States, in particular in the city of Miami. And today, we've encountered them on the streets crying for joy and for hope and for what the future brings. And the message has been very clear. President Trump kept his word. President Trump had the internal fortitude, had the political pants to do what no other president, Republican and Democrat, for the last 25 years that you have been serving in Congress and I have been a member of the news media, no one had that resolution of liberating the hemisphere from thugs like this Maduro, who only harmed his people and our people through drugs, through terrorist attacks, through gang members, specifically Tren de Aragua. That's the kind of leader that we need in the Western Hemisphere. Someone like President Trump, who it will not allow for rats, for scoundrels like this guy, to be in the presidential palace anymore and poison our generation and their generation. So Venezuela is at the door of a new dawn, a new good partner for the United States. And once again, we always give the country back much better than we encountered it. So thank you to all of you. Once again, we are extremely happy. I think I should say some words in Spanish. We're going to take, I think, questions after. But quiero decir solamente de que este es un día extraordinario, no solamente para los venezolanos, sino para todo el hemisferio, para los cubanos, para todo el mundo libre del hemisferio occidental. Yo, como la chairman del Western Hemisphere Subcommittee, el subcomité del hemisferio occidental dentro del Comité de Relaciones Exteriores. Para nosotros es un día maravilloso porque nos damos cuenta que nuevamente los Estados Unidos demostró lo que es. Un país bueno, un país benevolente, un país que lo que quiere es dar más que recibir. Y en este caso le ha tocado a Venezuela. Le damos muchas gracias al presidente Trump porque tuvo los pantalones políticos que no ha tenido más nadie, incluyendo presidentes republicanos y demócratas. Nosotros estábamos en el Congreso, él en la alcaldía y yo en la miembro de la prensa. Por 25 años estábamos esperando qué va a pasar, por qué los Estados Unidos no actúan. Y gracias a Dios hoy lo hizo el presidente Trump. El día 3 de enero es un día que va a pasar a la historia porque no solamente hoy, Maduro es un hombre que está ahora en prisión, sino también Manuel Antonio Noriega en 1990 pasó lo mismo. Y ahí está la historia de los Estados Unidos, donde nosotros removemos a los malos, ayudamos a los buenos y le devolvemos el país para que cada uno se gobierne como quiera. Y eso mismo es lo que va a pasar en Venezuela. Nosotros no vamos a poner ni quitar presidente, nosotros vamos a ayudar a los venezolanos a elegir su propio presidente, a que hayan elecciones libres si es que tienen que volver a verlas. Sabemos que en julio del 24, Edmundo González y María Corina Machado ganaron después que Maduro le prometió a Biden que iba a dar elecciones libres en un acuerdo que se llamaba el Acuerdo de Barbados. Ahora tienen que los venezolanos, junto con los Estados Unidos, decidir cómo va a ser esa transición. Pero lo que sí sabemos como miembros del Congreso, que los Estados Unidos aquí está para ayudar y no para quitar. Que los Estados Unidos lo que quiere es ayudar al pueblo venezolano, que no va a necesitar que le demos limosnas, porque tienen suficiente petróleo como para poder pagarse su futuro y su prosperidad. Así que para nosotros verdaderamente, esto para mí personalmente, todos los amigos venezolanos, nosotros representamos a la diáspora venezolana en el sur de la Florida, no solamente en el distrito 27, en el 28, en el 26, todo el sur de la Florida. En este momento los venezolanos están llorando, no solamente de alegría, sino de esperanza que finalmente les llegó su hora. Y para nosotros estamos llenos de orgullo que fue un presidente republicano y que fue el presidente Trump el que dijo que lo iba a hacer y lo hizo. Así que Dios lo bendiga.
And to wind us down, and we'll take question is again another person who I am privileged to work with. Obviously, he was a phenomenal mayor, even better member of Congress if that's possible. Respected by his colleagues on the Homeland Security Committee and also on the Armed Services Committee, and also on the China Select Committee, and so very familiar with the threat that exists today in 2 countries in this hemisphere, but not 3. And so, my dear friend, my dear colleague, our Congressman Carlos Jimenez.
Thank you. And I don't know how I'm going to follow up on what my two colleagues have already said, especially Maria. Please do not let me follow her again. First of all, we have to thank President Donald J. Trump. So let me say that again. We need to thank President Donald J. Trump because how many times have we heard presidents say, "Don't do that. Here's a line in the sand."
Yeah.
And make sure we don't do that. And if you do that, there's going to be consequences. And the people actually do that, and nothing happens. Well, that doesn't work with Donald J. Trump. When he tells you, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to give you a way out, and he does, always, he gave the Iranians a way out, and you don't take advantage of that, then he is going to do what he said he's going to do. And today, he took that action, an action that was sorely needed. About 2-3 years ago, I asked Christopher Wray, he was in front of my committee, the cartels in our hemisphere have killed far more Americans, far more, hundreds of thousands, than any of the Middle Eastern terrorist organizations. Al Qaeda maybe killed 4,000 or so. Well, Al Qaeda came over here and killed 3,000 Americans. We went 6,000 miles and waged war for 20 years. We were having these criminals in our own backyard for decades, killing hundreds of thousands of us, and we don't do anything. And why can't we label them a terrorist organization? And he gave me some bureaucratic answer as to why they couldn't do it. Well, I guess they could.
Yeah.
I guess they could. And that was what was necessary, to label them designate them as a terrorist organization because they've been terrorizing us for years. And nothing has happened to them until today.
Right.
And so, again, thank you, President Trump, for taking the action to protect American lives, to protect American interests. And people say, what are we doing in Venezuela? How is that America first? It's damn right it's America first. All right? It's protecting American lives, protecting American interests. And we need to do more of it. And we also need to be the protector of democracy and liberty in our hemisphere because that's also America first.
Yes.
When we see these dictators all over the place in South America, they don't have America's best interests in mind. I mean, I understand that they have to have their own countries, but they somehow always align themselves with our enemies in our own hemisphere.
Right.
And for far too long, we have been ignoring our hemisphere. And so again, President Trump, thank you for refocusing our efforts in our hemisphere and making sure that you're protecting American lives and American interests right here in our own backyard.
Yes.
And so to my colleagues on the left, the only thing I got to say is, are you kidding me? Are you really kidding? Are you really trying to defend a narco-terrorist dictator? You're coming out to the defense of a narco-terrorist dictator that has killed, that has blood on his hands, American blood on his hands? Are you out of your minds? Completely. Why? Because it was President Trump and President Trump can't do anything right? No. President Trump does a lot of things right, and this is one of them. And we need to back what the president is doing. And again, super proud of the job that Marco Rubio, super proud of the job that Pete Hegseth is doing as the Secretary of War, and super proud of the finest military in the world, our fighting men and women.
Correct.
They proved it one more time.
Yes.
You know, Maduro had his security people, probably the best,
Right, the
from
Cubans.
a
The
country that
Cubans.
we know, right?
They were expecting
Okay, and they were expecting it, and guess
Yeah.
what?
Where were they?
I think they may have been there, but they're not there anymore. And so, not a good day for them. And why? Because of the precision, the professionalism of our armed forces. And I couldn't be more. I serve on the Armed Services Committee. I couldn't be prouder of them. I can't be prouder of what President Trump has done. And then one more thing, as Maria and Mario kind of alluded to, that we represent the largest diaspora, our Venezuelan diaspora.
Yeah.
But I'm Cuban. I was born in Cuba. You're Cuban
I was born
descent.
in
Cuban
Miami.
descent. Cuban descent. Right. But today we're all Venezuelans,
Oh, Venezuela.
and we will stand in Venezuela, and we will make sure that there's a transition to a democracy
Right.
in Venezuela, that the Venezuelan people will choose who their leader is
Right.
in a democratic way, and we will have a stable, democratic Venezuela that should be allied to the United States, because that's really where it should all end, right? And so I look forward to that day. All Venezuelans look forward to that day. 8 million Venezuelans emigrated
Right.
and fled this tyranny, this dictatorship. And hopefully many of those will go back to rebuild their country. Venezuela, again, doesn't need our help. They have the largest oil reserves on the planet.
Right.
They have unbelievable riches.
Yeah.
And so all they need is a helping hand to restore the governance that will get them to where they rightfully deserve as the most prosperous nation in South America, because of all the riches that they have. And so, it's just a great day. You can tell that really this is a good day. One final thing, a couple final things actually. This message is not just going to resonate here in our hemisphere. It's going to resonate around the world. Right now we have disturbances going on in Iran as the people are starting to rise up against that tyranny. And so the Russians and the Chinese are looking at us and saying, we're dealing with a different guy here. And so there will be a new world order, all right? And it will be a world order that is bounded by and guided by the principles of liberty and democracy, not tyranny and communism and socialism. And so, again, that's all due to the leadership of Marco Rubio. Of President Trump. And Marco Rubio as Secretary of State, and Pete Hegseth as the Secretary of War. And so that's a great team that they have, again, and I couldn't be prouder. A couple of words in Spanish. Hoy, todos los que estamos aquí, todo el pueblo de Miami, somos venezolanos. Todos somos venezolanos. Un orgullo. Soy cubano, pero de verdad es un orgullo para mí, y también estoy muy agradecido a la labor que ha hecho el presidente Trump, la labor que ha hecho también el secretario de Estado Marco Rubio, el secretario de la Guerra Pete Hegseth, todo lo que hicieron. También tengo que agradecer el mejor ejército del mundo, que es de los Estados Unidos, lo que han hecho, la manera que pudieron lograr y sacar y arrestar a Nicolás Maduro. Nicolás Maduro es un narcoterrorista, es un líder ilegítimo de Venezuela y lo que les pasó hoy en día, tuvo suerte. Tuvo suerte porque no le pasó a los Soleimani, okay. Tuvo suerte, no le pasó lo que le pasó a Osama Bin Laden, tuvo suerte. Y ahora está aquí y va a enfrentar la justicia americana. Así que para mí es un gran día. También, otra vez, agradecido al presidente Trump. Él cuando dice que va a hacer algo, lo va a hacer. Y si te dice, mira, te voy a dar una opción, a la buena o a la mala, puede ser la próxima vez, por favor, coge la buena, porque la mala viene, y ya se ha demostrado en varias veces, en varias ocasiones. Pregúntale a la ayatollah de Irán si lo escuchó, no lo escuchó, entonces a la mala. También Nicolás Maduro creía que era una broma. No, esto no es una broma. Estamos muy serios. El presidente de los Estados Unidos está muy serio. Y ahora cuando él dice que vas a hacer, no debes hacer eso, sino estas son las consecuencias, tómalo en mente lo que ha pasado, lo que pasó en Venezuela, lo que pasó en Irán. Esto es un símbolo, esto lo que pasó aquí, no solamente va a tener impacto en nuestro hemisferio, pero también impacto en el mundo entero, porque ahora saben, todo el mundo sabe, que con este presidente no se puede jugar. Con los Estados Unidos no se puede jugar. Nosotros somos justos, de verdad, no queremos dictar lo que desea un pueblo, simplemente deseamos la democracia, la libertad para todos los pueblos del mundo, que ellos pueden seguir su paso, su camino, pero de una manera libre. Y eso es lo que nosotros deseamos aquí en los Estados Unidos. Eso es lo que deseamos aquí en el sur de la Florida. Y al final, que tomen nota también las dictaduras de Cuba y Nicaragua. Porque hoy el presidente habló sobre Cuba. No sé, yo no creo que dijo algo, pero que Cuba estaba ahora en el radar de él. Y estamos muy agradecidos también de eso, porque el pueblo cubano merece la libertad también. El pueblo nicaragüense también merece la libertad. Este hemisferio debe ser, nada más que debe tener la libertad, nada más que debe tener la democracia, que no deberemos tolerar dictaduras en nuestro hemisferio. Este hemisferio debe ser el hemisferio de la libertad. Y tenemos que otra vez agradecer, y otra vez se lo voy a agradecer al presidente Donald J. Trump por lo que hizo. Y con eso, ya.
Representante, ¿es Delcy Rodríguez la nueva presidenta de Venezuela? ¿Y qué va a pasar con las personas que el pueblo
Vamos a sí. ¿Quieres comenzar?
Bueno, ella también es ilegítima. Así que, pero también tenemos que tener, yo pienso, y porque yo no he hablado con el presidente o Marco Rubio sobre esto, pienso también que necesitamos estabilidad por un rato, pero también necesitamos una transición. Pero yo no estoy contento con ella ser parte de esa transición, porque para mí, y yo creo que para el pueblo venezolano, ella es ilegítima. Necesitamos otra persona o otra ¿sabes? Fórmula, algo para llevar esa transición en Venezuela, pero lo que deseamos más que todo, que sea de una manera pacífica.
Déjame también, y es interesante lo que dijo el presidente hoy. Y no es solamente lo que él ha dicho hoy, pero esta es una política establecida, muy bien establecida. El presidente ha dicho múltiples ocasiones, reiterada por el secretario de Estado, secretario de Guerra, otros de la administración, que el status quo, que este cartel no puede estar en control de Venezuela. Ahora, va a haber una transición, tiene que haber una transición, pero que esté claro, los que van a determinar quién son los líderes de Venezuela son los venezolanos, a través de un proceso democrático transparente. El proceso de transición se demora un día, una semana, un mes. Eso básicamente no tiene mucha consecuencia. Lo que el presidente dijo claramente hoy, las Fuerzas Armadas de los Estados Unidos todavía están ahí, están en la área, y no va a permitir que se mantenga ese régimen. Ahí no hay confusión, y obviamente muy agradecidos por esa actitud muy clara de la administración de que ese régimen, el cartel de los soles, no tiene cabida ni futuro en Venezuela.
También podemos añadir a eso que Delcy Rodríguez y su hermano están en la lista de los sancionados, número 1. These are the facts.
No está la imputación actualizada.
Están en la lista, hay otra lista donde hay mucha gente sancionada por narcotráfico, por corrupción, por otros crímenes. Número 1 y número 2, la señora Delcy dijo hace pocas horas de que Maduro era el presidente legítimo del país y que lo tenían que los Estados Unidos liberar. Ya ahí demuestra nuevamente quién es, mostró sus colores, y estoy de acuerdo con lo que dice Mario. El presidente lo dijo muy bien, de que no se podían ir los Estados Unidos y dejar a cualquiera de todos estos bandidos, porque es Alibaba y los 40 ladrones. No vas a poner al ladrón número 25. Lo que hay que hacer es, lo que dice Mario, es estabilizar el país. ¿Y quién mejor que los Estados Unidos para estabilizar y los soldados americanos? Y después de estabilizar, entonces permitirle a la sociedad civil y a la oposición venezolana organizarse y que entonces decidan qué va a pasar. Es temprano, pero la buena noticia es que estamos en el principio del fin y que se acabó el cartel de los soles.
Let me just go to her and then
Lo que quería saber es qué va a pasar ahora con Diosdado Cabello y los demás imputados.
Bueno, Diosdado Cabello está...
¿Para sacarlo de Venezuela?
Ok, Diosdado Cabello está en el indictment o en que un jurado general o un grand jury en los Estados Unidos en el 2020, hace 5 años, también está, si usted lee, la imputación está Diosdado Cabello, lo cual significa que Diosdado Cabello también tiene sus días contados. Sabemos lo que acabo de decir de Delcy, entonces el presidente lo dijo, que aquí lo que hay es que limpiar la gente que participó en el cartel de los soles y en toda la represión y la corrupción, y entonces permitir que las fuerzas de la sociedad civil suban y que ellos determinen, los propios venezolanos, quién quiere. Sabemos que en el 24 hubo una elección donde estaba el mundo porque no y María Corina el vicepresidente, pero hay que ver cómo se quieren organizar. What are you saying?
What does it mean when the president says that the U.S. is running the country?
It's very simple.
Rodriguez was sworn in as the interim president.
It's very simple. It's very simple. It's not that complicated. Look, there obviously has to be a transition. Obviously. Because the head is not there. The head of that cartel, of that narco cartel, despite being defended by the left, is no longer there. He is now already in New York, and he will be in front of a judge to face the justice system of the United States of America. So therefore, there obviously has to be a transition. And it's very clear. What the president is saying, and he's been very clear about it, not only today, by the way, but he's been very clear since the beginning of this administration, which is that regime, that cartel, can no longer be part of Venezuela. They cannot be controlling Venezuela. He's declared war on these narco cartels, including by name El Cartel de los Soles, headed by Maduro. But logic will tell you, because this is real, this is not a TV episode, that there's going to have to be a transition period. And the United States, as the president has been very clear, does not want to allow for the head to be taken out and all of a sudden the same regime to stay there, the same cartel. So the U.S. is going to be involved in that process. It is not the hardest thing to understand that when you take out the head person, you're going to have a transition. And so what? The question is that the United States should have no role in that transition? Of course it has to have a role. The United States Armed Forces risked their lives to take the cartel head out. Now, there's going to have to be a transition. And the concept that the United States should have no role is frankly kind of like watching too much television.
I think that
When we talk about transition, why are you not willing to support Maria Corina and Mundo to be?
Oh, wait, hold on a second.
Let's talk about that.
First,
Yeah.
you're talking to us?
Yes.
When have we ever not supported it?
Well, I'm asking
No, wait. But let's look. These are serious issues. Do not put words in my mouth. And do not. No, wait. But you said us. You said us. You said us. Okay. But it's very. I will not tolerate putting words in my mouth or my colleague's mouth.
Yeah.
We have been consistent from day one, and I am convinced there's going to be a transition. We already talked about that. And I'm convinced that when there are elections, whether there are new elections or there's a decision to take the old elections, the last elections, that the next democratically elected president of Venezuela is going to be Maria Corina Machado.
Let me add a little bit more. Let me add just a little bit more. What are the facts? The facts are that in July 2024, there was an election supervised by Maduro. That election, Maria Corina proved through the world, through tallies that she was able to smuggle, that they won 70-30. We do not know, maybe they won by more or by less. We also know that Maria Corina had been the person who won the primary, that the Venezuelans decided that she was going to be the elected nominee for the opposition party. And Maduro decided that he didn't like her, so then they decided to put Edmundo Gonzalez. So we know that there is an opposition that has been organized by Maria Corina and Edmundo and her party, and they are a very legitimate force inside Venezuela. So we are supporting her, and we're supporting everything that the opposition forces and the civil society decide to do. But I agree with Mario that she has proven, empirical evidence is proven, that she proved that her party won the elections, and if she needs to go back and then run as the president, as the legitimate president, then she absolutely could win.
One more thing. Excuse me.
I
Okay.
want to ask you about the domino effect, because everybody's talking about that and how important it is to this community, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to the effects this may have on Cuba and Nicaragua, how realistically do you think that's going to happen?
Well, I think that there's a very good chance that happens, and I'll tell you why. Because the Cuban regime is probably in the weakest point it's been probably in its history right now.
Yeah.
They can't even keep the lights on. They can't feed its people. They have no medicine. It's pure misery there. And the Maduro regime was a regime that was propping up the Cuban regime. And so now that you have no more, I don't believe we're going to have any more help to the Cuban regime. It's just going to make them that much weaker. Also, I always listen to the president, really, okay? I mean, I really listen to him very carefully, and somehow he mentioned Cuba, all right? And I don't think that's a coincidence. And so is there a possibility of a domino effect? Yeah. Yes. And also the people in our hemisphere have just seen what happened. And so there is a domino effect there. It also, I believe, will have a positive effect on Colombia, where we have a far leftist president there. And now the people of Colombia say, oh, the United States is finally taking, attention and paying attention to us. And I think in next year's elections, we're going to have a little bit different result in Colombia. And so, I do believe that there is a domino effect. Now, if anybody doubts, our support for Maria Corina Machado, he couldn't go because he had a previous engagement. We two went to Oslo, okay, to be with her, all right, when she got the Nobel Peace Prize. And we didn't do that because, hey, that was a cool trip.
No,
although it was very cold, okay. We did that to show our support for Maria Corina Machado, her courage, and her charisma. And I'll tell you what, that she is a very, very popular figure. Had it not been for Maduro, she would have been the president, okay. And that. What?
Do you have a point for your European partners, please?
Hold on.
The European Union has stressed restraint. They want to have respect for international laws. They call for restraint. What is your?
You want me to answer that first?
International. Look.
Restraint.
This is very
Restraint of
easy.
what?
This was a non-conventional war Maduro was a non-legitimate president. He was indicted in 2020 by a federal grand jury. He is the head of these are all facts for a journalist. He was the head of a drug cartel called the Solis. Since 2000, he has been smuggling drugs and sending Tren So we never violated any international laws. That's why we were okay in having President Trump not consult with Congress, because this is in his purview. Obama did it, Clinton did it, Reagan did it, and Bush did it. So now Trump is doing it. Just because Trump may not be liked by some people does not mean that he cannot follow in those steps.
Look, first of all, this was a law enforcement action. This was arresting somebody who's been indicted here in the United States. And so it's not unprecedented. The fact that it needed armed forces is because they needed to protect the arresting officers while they were arresting the criminal, the alleged criminal, all right, to be brought to justice to the United States. And so I don't see the illegality of it. And if you come from the European Union, many of the states in the European Union don't recognize Nicolás Maduro as a legitimate leader of Venezuela. And so if he's not the legitimate leader of Venezuela, I fail to understand how people think that this is not a legitimate action. It is a law enforcement action. It was very clear. We're not at war with Venezuela. This is a law enforcement action, and I'm very proud of the president and our armed services and the FBI agents that went along to make sure that they arrested Nicolás Maduro and his wife, who were both under indictment.
Hold on. We'll get there. But also, just very important. Look, we love our European allies. They're strong allies. It's an important alliance. But there seems to be this very interesting attitude that when it's time for the United States to protect the American people and the United States security interests from a narco cartel that is responsible for the death of hundreds of thousands of Americans, the Europeans, our friends, ask for restraint. But they don't ask the United States to be restrained when they ask for help with dealing with Russia.
That's right.
And so to our European friends, it's about time that they realize that in this hemisphere, we have real threats to the national security interests of the United States. In Venezuela, you've got the Russians, the Iranians, the Cubans, Hezbollah, you name it, right? And so the concept that we should only be restrained when it's to protect American interests and American lives is the definition of hypocrisy. So we're going to take another Fox. Is Fox here? Is Fox here? Yeah. Fox, where's Fox? Where's Fox? Where's Fox?
Right here.
All right, good. Sí, nosotros admiramos mucho a nuestros aliados europeos, son aliados muy importantes, económicos y en todas formas, pero es interesante que cuando los Estados Unidos protegen los intereses de los Estados Unidos en este hemisferio, básicamente ahora trae a un narcotraficante a la justicia norteamericana, a las cortes norteamericanas, nuestros aliados europeos se ofenden, pero al mismo tiempo no se ofenden y exigen y le piden a los Estados Unidos todo tipo de ayuda para proteger los intereses europeos en Europa. Así que eso es la definición de la hipocresía. Nosotros admiramos y queremos mucho a nuestros aliados europeos, pero que sepan que igual que ellos tienen el derecho de proteger la seguridad de ellos en Europa y que le piden y le exigen ayuda a los Estados Unidos para hacerlo, que no se quejen cuando los Estados Unidos protege al pueblo norteamericano y los intereses de los Estados Unidos contra un narcotraficante en este hemisferio. All right, we'll take one more. Take one more.
I think one more. I don't know if
With all that said,
take him.
you support military military action over Havana now that Maduro is gone.
Repeat the question again.
We support, military action against Havana. Look. This president, this administration has been very clear about what their attitude and their policy is. And you saw it, you've seen it in the attitude towards Havana, towards Managua, and obviously towards the cartel in Venezuela. The president has reversed all of the concessions that the Biden administration gave to the regime in Havana. the previous administration, it wasn't that they were not pressuring the regime in Havana. They were going out of their way to help the regime, the anti-American terrorist regime in Havana. To the point, by the way, that in the previous administration, we were able to stop this. They actually wanted to give the Cuban terrorist regime access to the United States banking system, and they wanted American taxpayer money to go help pay and bail out Castro's own businesses and his family and his associates' businesses in Havana. That has been reversed. We're seeing now, we've seen very strong pressure against the dictatorship in Havana. Mark my words, you're going to see more, and which is why I will reiterate what I've said multiple times. I was convinced that these terrorist regimes would have not survived another 4 years of Donald Trump. Let me say it now in a different way. I am convinced that the two remaining ones will not survive the last 3 years of the President Trump administration. We'll take one more question. The last question. Take the last question.
I just want to, for the average, they always ask me, for the average American viewer, for the average American who does not understand, doesn't know our community, that knows the way we know the community. It's a new dawn for the Western Hemisphere. We're talking about that this is an America first, and I think my colleague said it, this is an America first policy.
Yeah.
America first, because the proximity of our backyard is where you have Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. And those regimes only want to harm our young adults and our average American by bringing drugs and by sponsoring terrorist cells. So for the average American that doesn't understand why we have to be in Venezuela, this is a good day for their children. This is a good day for your community, because now the Western Hemisphere, thanks to President Trump, is going to be free of those influences that only want to harm us out of envy, out of hate, not out of goodness. And that's why we thank President Trump for understanding that and for clearing the way so we can have better communities and more prosperous countries.
Beautiful. That winds it down. I do want to let me just a little bit of so. By the way, this building, you know, we pay rent here, right? There are landlords, but Sylvia Fernandez, who allowed us to use this building and open it up. Thank you. I don't know where she is from AWS. Where are you, Sylvia? Thank you. The bottom line is, this is a great day for America.
Yeah.
This is a great day for freedom. This is a great day for those families who have lost loved ones to overdoses. This is a great day for the Venezuelan people who now can actually taste freedom right around the corner after this transition. And it is a great day for this hemisphere. The days of tolerance and of appeasement of those who do harm to the American people, to the United States, are over. Thank you, President Donald Trump. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks to all of you once again.